The following program contains explicit calls for clear thinking. If you suffer from emotionalism, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your romance novelist.
I look over the Potomac. What do I see? Uncle Sam's got a drone and is looking at me. NSA's got to say what I can do for me. And I don't think this is what is supposed to be the sweet land of liberty. We got an intense show for you today. Stick around.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Welcome to the show, friends. Today I will show you why on this 4th of July we are not only celebrating American independence, but we are acknowledging by that document, the Declaration of Independence, that it is God who gives us our rights. It is God who is the judge of the world. In fact, how many times is God referred to in the Declaration of Independence? Do you know? I'm going to show you today and show you what it means for us, for today and for the future. But first, we need somebody to give us a word of profundity. I don't even know what the word profundity means. It sounds profound.
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah Takrapa! Boys and girls, Muhammad teaches us about cleanliness. If a housefly flies in the drink bloop, of any one of you, he should dip it in the drink bloop. For one of its wings has a disease, and the other has the cure for the disease. Drink up.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Thinking Man's program. I am going to do something a little bit crazy today, and I went back and forth in my mind. Today is, of course, July 4th, and you're sitting there after a big barbecue, hanging out in front of your TV, maybe drinking a cold beverage, channel surfing. Came up on this here guy saying Happy 4th of July and long live the revolution. Well, in yesterday's program, I done talked about the shot heard around the world. Because there's a lot of people who don't know that the war started over a year before the Declaration of Independence was signed. April of '75 was the shot heard around the world in Lexington. And the British soldiers were on their way to where? Concord, Massachusetts. Why were they going? Are you ready? Happiness is a warm gun. Bang, bang, shoot, shoot. That's Beatles' White Album. Anyway, they were on their way to Concord to take the guns and the bullets and the gunpowder. There was a munition storage facility that the British learned about that the American colonists had, and the Brits knew that a revolutionary war might happen. Well, let's get the guns. The easy way is gun confiscation. Let's have gun confiscation, gun registration. That's why we have a Second Amendment, friends. So on this July 4th, I want you to remember that if the colonists did not have guns, if the British had been successful in getting the armaments that were in the hands of the colonists and seizing them, how are you going to revolt? How are you going to have a revolution without firepower? And the colonists won. They routed the British. They were waiting. They ambushed them. The British are all marching in a straight line. They were playing by the rules. And so the first terrorists, guerrilla warfare, militants might be better. The British really did believe that the Americans were terrorists because they wouldn't fight fair. They wanted everyone to line up and to face each other and stand and shoot and get mowed down like sheep led to the slaughter. The Americans said, I don't think so. We're going to hide in trees and bushes, and we're going to ambush them. Things had gotten so bad that there were people that were willing to shed human blood. I'm going to read the Declaration of Independence today, or most of it, and I'm going to give you this thought to ponder. Tonight, maybe, when you're about to go to sleep, lying in your bed. There was a time when I would ask myself, am I willing to die for freedom? Am I willing to physically, literally die for freedom? And it took me a lot of wrestling. One day I was in a big public meeting and I was looking at a bunch of small children that were there. And we were talking, at that time, the speaker was talking about our freedoms being crushed. And the thought hit me. The question is not, am I willing to die for freedom? The question is, are we willing to kill for freedom? Because that's what the American colonists did. When the Declaration of Independence was signed, it was a declaration of war. All right? And that meant that they were going to raise up a colonial army, which they did, that they were going to appoint George Washington as the commander-in-chief, which they did, and they were going to take up arms and point their weapons at their fellow Britons and kill them in order to be free. That's heavy stuff. It really is. And we have a great debt of gratitude and honor owed to those who founded this country. But we also have to look at what they did with great sobriety on this day. Because while we were birthed as a free republic, the cost of that birth was an enormous amount of blood and treasure. And tragically, we have squandered that. I'm going to read the Declaration when we come back, and you'll see what was happening. And I would submit to you that what's happening today is probably worse than what happened then. But again, that's another matter for another show. Declaration of Independence coming up. And oh, by the way, how many times is God referred to in the Declaration of Independence? You're going to hear it on this show. You ain't hearing it on Fox TV. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Good TV I think we both know what I'm talking about. Read a boring document. If you think the Declaration of Independence is boring, then go on about your business. But if you would like to hear it read to you and watch the words on your screen, it might be interesting. You might say, you know, it's been a long time since I've done looked at that document, and I'm glad Mr. Terry's doing it. Providing a real service to all mankind. So here it is. In Congress, July 4th, 1776. And look for the references to God in this. And I'm going to interrupt myself occasionally. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. There's the first reference to God. The separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. All right, that's what's called a couplet. The laws of nature and nature's God. That's not two separate thoughts, it's one thought. The laws of nature and the laws of God. Natural law, the laws of nature, there's a massive body of thought in Catholic literature and in English Anglican literature talking about natural law. I'm not going to focus on it right now, except to say that brilliant philosophical and theological minds have echoed what Paul wrote when he said that the laws of God are written on all men's hearts, okay? That the creation itself declares that there is a creator, a God, and that our conscience can know what is right and wrong. That's called natural law, or at least that's part of it. Revealed law is the Old and New Testament, all right? Special revelation. He said that the laws of nature and nature's God, i.e., the laws of God, have given us certain rights, okay? That phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God, has no theological and philosophical meaning outside of Christian theology. That's really critical that you understand that, because these overly educated morons that, did I just say morons? I think so. I should say fools, all right? The fool has said in his heart, no God, the Bible says. So these people who are so open-minded that their brains leak out and they talk about the threat of religion to the body politic and to government and to public policy. Wait, stop. This country was birthed on the idea that God has laws and God has given us rights, as we'll see, and that gave us the right to a violent revolution against tyrants, all right? The Declaration of Independence is a theocentric document. It's God-centered. They based their right to revolution on the laws of nature and nature's God. Think about it. And that phrase is a part of a massive body of Christian thought. It's not Hindu thought. It's not Muslim thought. It's not Buddhist or Confucian thought. Okay? It's Judeo-Christian thought, the Old and New Testament, brought to us over hundreds of years of theology. So, without God in the equation, there's no Declaration of Independence. There's no America. It's the laws of God that entitled us to rebel. I like that. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That means that no one has to debate them. They're self-evident. The sky is blue. Gravity works. They're self-evident truths. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Ooh, you mean they wasn't evolved? There ain't no monkeys in my family tree. All men are created equal. Theories of evolution existed before Darwin. The founders said, whatever. All men are created equal and that they are endowed by the government with certain... No, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that they're endowed by the government. It says that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. An unalienable right means a right that can never be separated from you or never taken away from you. That they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm going to take a break. This is the second reference to God in the Declaration of Independence. And oh, look, He's our Creator, and it's He, not the state, but God, that gives us our rights. If there is no God, then that would mean that the state gives us our rights. And what the state giveth, the state taketh away. I'll be right back. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Welcome back to the program, friend. I was just chided by my team here that I'm not going to be able to finish the Declaration. So I'll do the best that I can. Don't yell at me anymore. All right. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Friends, that's why child killing is a crime against God. The right to life for the unborn baby comes from God. That's why the theft of our property through socialism is a crime against us and against our God-given rights. Liberty. It means that you can dispose, among other things, it means that you can dispose of your income as you see fit, not have a gun put to your head so that other people can have your stuff. Anyway, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Why do we have government, Randall? To protect our God-given rights of life, liberty, and property. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, or life, liberty, and property, as it was also called, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government. Our God-given rights, right? All men are created endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. One of the rights is the right of the people to alter or abolish their government, not be spied on by our government. Laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind is more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Those of you who were polled among the 44% of the Republicans that think that revolution may be necessary to protect our liberties, you would do well to study this document over and over, because it would be no small thing. The upheaval in this country would be unthinkable. So the issue is, when do we reach the breaking point? The evils that we're enduring are no longer sufferable. That means we can't bear it any longer. We're tired of despots and tyrants ruling us. I'm going to skip a little bit. He said, the history of the present King George of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let the facts be submitted to a candid world. He goes on to delineate the fact that they were quartering large bodies of armed troops among the people, protecting the soldiers by mock trial. They're not being punished for murders, cutting off our trade, imposing taxes on us without our consent, depriving us of the benefits of a trial by jury. If you look at these complaints, you see the birth of the Bill of Rights. Trial by a jury, we can't have armed troops living in our homes. This is a magnificent history lesson, and also, I would venture to say that much of what happened here is nothing compared to the evils that we are enduring today. I actually truly believe that if Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Patrick Henry were alive today and were in positions of power, like they were then, I mean, they were outcasts. They weren't in the power structure of Great Britain. But I believe if those men were alive today, they might be among those saying, we have to have a revolution. Just conjecture on my part. The reason that it might not be so is because we still have elections. All right? Elections are here so that we don't have to have a war. We've got to take a break. When we come back, 2 other references to God and their meaning. Don't go away. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. Welcome back to the program, friend. I hope that you have had and are having a wonderful 4th of July. We're just about out of time. I encourage you to get a copy of the Declaration of Independence and to read it. I'm going to finish reading the document, show you 2 more references to Almighty God. They said, "We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these United Colonies are and of a right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved." That phrase, the Supreme Judge of the world, we're invoking him, we're appealing to him. That has meaning only in the Christian construct. A deist doesn't believe that God answers prayer, doesn't believe that God is the judge of the world. The deist believes God wound up the world and walked away. That's it. The deist creed is, I believe in God, period, the end. The Christian view is that God is a judge. He judges between right and wrong, good and evil. The people can pray to him to protect them, to invoke him, to justify their actions. That's what they did. We appeal. This is a prayer. We appeal to the Supreme Judge of the world. God, we ask you to look at what they're doing to us and what we are doing and judge. That's the Christian God, people. All right, then finally, they said, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The doctrine of providence, provisum, is God sees ahead. Abraham was told by God to offer up his son, and then God had a ram in the thicket, and Abraham named that place Jehovah Jireh, God my provider. The concept of and the theology of the providence of God is that God sees ahead. God says, George Washington is going to need a fog to cross the Delaware River. I'll be there waiting for him with a fog so he can get away. That's the providence of God. God seeing ahead and providing what you need when you get there. These people who signed this declaration said, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. Friends, the Declaration of Independence is a God-centered document, and without God, there is no United States of America. Happy 4th of July. God bless you.